Immersion. It's a word that most of us have probably heard before, but have you ever thought about what it actually means? Google defines immersion as deep mental involvement and immersive as a three-dimensional image which appears to surround the user. So, why am I telling you this? Well, everyone on this planet has some sort of hobby or action they do for entertainment. But why? What leads us to do these things, listen to those songs, or play those games? And why is immersion so important to all of it? All forms of media have some level of immersion to the consumer. Whether mental or physical immersion, it tends to follow all forms of media. If there was no level of immersion in any form of media, would anyone even enjoy it? Probably not, right? If you never felt like a game or show meant anything, wouldn't watching or playing it and giving it your time and attention seem like a mundane waste of time and energy? Maybe. But before I continue, I just want to ask you a simple question. Where is the word immersion most common? In my experiences with hearing or using this word, it tends to show up when people are reviewing a video game or movie. The most common phrases that I've heard are, did it have an immersive story? Or the gameplay is just so immersive. These terms and phrases seem so common when people review games that it got me thinking about what it all actually means and why it's so important, and here we are. So, simply put, immersion is what makes something worth your time. If you feel like you're actually a part of something or connected to its content in any way, you are experiencing immersion. So, let me ask you a question. Do you ever get happy or sad when listening to music? How about feeling anxious or scared when watching a horror movie? Do you ever read a book just a little bit faster when there's more action going on? If so, then you have been immersed in different forms of media, and they have likely, even if only for a short time, affected the way you felt, thought, or acted. That's the power of immersion. A song can take you back to a certain time and place, or lift you up right when you need it most. A good show can be used to live a life when you're stuck indoors, especially with how life has been for everyone this past year. A good game can be another life, and a good book can teach you an emotional lesson. Everything that I just said can apply to any and all forms of media mentioned. It's all interchangeable, and that's all thanks to the immersion provided. Now, before I go on, I just want to preface by saying that immersion is slightly subjective, because what is or isn't immersive for me may not be the same for you due to different interests, opinions, and experiences. With that in mind, I'm going to try and explain how and why immersion is so important, not only in my preferred type of media, aka what I find to be the most immersive for me, but all forms of media. You may disagree with me on what I find to be the most immersive, and that's perfectly fine. I would actually really like to hear what you have to say down in the comments below, and while you're down there, why not subscribe and leave a like? Anyways, the most immersive form of media, in my opinion, that I want to talk about is video games. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Video games tend to be a touchy, almost taboo topic when it comes to modern media outside of video games, with many associating them with violent acts. Media outlets tend to report on stories blaming video games for the rise in violent actions. But, if you ask me, that's anecdotal and untrue. I have played video games my entire life, and not once have I or anyone I know tended to be more violent after playing a game. Actually, from my experiences, it tends to be the direct opposite. As gamers, we tend to remove ourselves from reality for a while and belong in this virtual world where we are in control. This is one part of the immersion of gaming that is so important, the control. Like in reality, you control your own actions, and in doing so you become more alive through the video game than any other form of media. You have the control over what happens and when it happens. You might have to follow a set path or complete certain objectives, but what you do on that path is still up to you. The control is something that many people use to relax and calm down, when it seems like in reality they have no control over their own lives. Video games allow people to feel in control of something and relax. And with the vast amount of genres and games out there, it's hard to believe that there isn't at least one for everyone to simply get attached to from the control it grants them. If you like top-down games or controlling people's lives, That really didn't sound the way I wanted it to. There are games for that. Do you want to create your own world from your own image? There are games for that. Do you want to explore a vast open world where your actions have direct consequences on the world around you? There are games for that. I think by now you get my point. Simply from the control and objective, you can already get so immersed into a game that the rest of the content in it comes naturally to you. You've already become more than just a person holding a controller. You've become the character that you control. Now, beyond the control, what else is there? You now have the ability to become something else in a virtual world. But that's just what you need next, a good virtual world. It's so easy to get immersed into another world when it's crafted so well, regardless of the stylistic choices or direct level of detail involved. Not every world needs to be more intricate than, I don't know, say, for example, the Mona Lisa. Even TV shows and movies follow the same principle for immersion, where a good setting has to be established for someone to place themselves in. Video games do setting beautifully, as you can explore and go through different worlds, doing whatever your heart desires to progress on your own adventure. No other forms of media allow you to disconnect from reality and reconnect with another you in such a way that it's even hard to put into words. Something that all other media forms do actually share with video games, though, is a sense of story, meaning, and purpose. It's easy to get lost in an adventure when there is a compelling story that you can fall in love with or relate to. It can only enhance the feeling of connection with the world around you, and this is how many people are able to relax. Once they've become someone else in a virtual world, their thoughts, feelings, and emotions become one with the world around them, rather than the reality that they are based in. This is a beautiful blend that leads to emotion based on this new reality to calm people down and help them relax. Because when you're in a game, it's hard to worry about your next school assignment, the next time you have to file taxes, your relationships, your friends, or anything else that worries you in real life. Ironically, video games are a way for people to disconnect, and they become the best parts of our lives. When nothing else is there, the stories and control in these games go above and beyond the stories and control of real life, and the experiences are something that you really can't understand the importance of until you experience it for yourself. The final part of immersion in video games that I want to talk about is the music and sound design. It's pretty much just all the sounds. The entire atmosphere revolves around the sounds, similar to how sounds in real life affect how you feel and react in certain situations. Imagine you're in the woods at night and it's quiet. You're not moving and you're just looking into the dark in front of you, and all of a sudden you hear a branch crunch right behind you. How are you feeling simply by the sound, and what are you thinking? How are you going to react? You probably have a pretty basic idea, right? Well, that's the power of audio and the atmosphere that it can give you. You can feel like you're doing something epic when you hear your character draw a sword, or you can feel scared when you hear something scream at you from the dark. The music can also excite you and make you more anxious. Imagine you're in a boss fight and you hear the fast-paced music. It's probably going to make the moment feel only even more awesome. There are so many things that audio controls, not only just in video games, but also in real life, that we don't really notice until we apply it to something else, and video games use this as a way to improve the immersive experience. So, with all that out of the way, I want to return back to how media outlets blame games for violence. Now, this likely comes from online games and competitive shooters, but the immersion in those games might actually be helping those who are violent and angry people in real life relieve all of that anger in a healthier way than actually taking it out on other people. The issue with online games isn't that the games make good people into bad people, or that they make calm people into violent people, but that toxic people play these games and they tend to make the toxicity worse. This applies to everything, even in real life. Toxic people exist in all areas of life, and they tend to be the ones that define a community. But the thing about toxic people, however, is I think it might actually be good for them to play video games. I just probably wouldn't recommend competitive games or online shooters to start. I think being immersed in other worlds and single-player adventures can help them with themselves and their toxicity and create an overall better place for everyone to relax and enjoy their experiences in while gaming. So, final recap, the control world, story, and sound all combined with the atmosphere of a game to allow gamers to disconnect from what they're feeling in reality and reconnect with a more emotional and childlike side of themselves, allowing them to relax and feel happier. That's the power of immersion and why I think it is so important not only in video games, but all forms of media. They can all help us and affect our lives for the better and help us improve ourselves as individuals. Because the people we become online behind screens can become the person who we are in reality. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not subscribe and leave a like? It's free and it would really help me out, and it only takes 2 seconds of your time, and you can change your mind whenever you'd like. I hope I made my point understandable, and I want to hear what you think in the comments down below. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, happy gaming, and peace.